was a rumble in the jungle. Once I heard Dad was outside again counting birds, and Mama plugged in a nightlight, and I saw the queen of the world.
Hello, welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. We're so happy to have you back. I'm your host, Natalie.
And I'm your host, Liz. And today we have a very special guest. It's our first time having a remote guest. So if the sound is a little different, that's why. But we wanted to introduce Jenny. And thanks for coming on. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Yeah, I'm Jenny. My full name is Jennilyn. A lot of people, when I became an adult, call me Jennilyn. And I am a nurse at Reproductive Biology Associates. It's a fertility clinic in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the clinical educator. So I talk a lot and I teach new nurses about the field that I'm very, very passionate about, fertility. And when I was in nursing school, I was interested in women's health and psychology and how do you mix those two? Fertility. So it was, I feel like I was destined for this job, and I truly, truly, truly love it. But I live here in North Georgia with my two girls and my husband, Daniel. He goes by Danny. We met in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for all the St. Louis folk that listen, he went to Marquette. I went to Eureka.
Oh.
We went to two different high schools. And we met when we were 16. And we were inseparable. When we met, we didn't stop hanging out. He was my best friend, and ups and downs. But we went to college together in Alabama, and then we ended up in Georgia.
Awesome! I love that. I love the high school sweetheart love.
Oh yeah, we grew up together. I mean, he in many ways. I mean, I watched that guy grow chest hair. We've gone through it all with each other.
Wow.
So it's something really special and unique.
That's amazing. So when did you guys decide that you wanted to start a family, and then how did kind of like that journey go?
Yeah, in college, I found out I had PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, where you just don't ovulate on your own. Mm-hmm. So without birth control, I don't have a period. I knew from that point, I would need some kind of help getting pregnant. I didn't look into the job for that. I just happened to fall onto it. Mm-hmm. And after we got married, we eloped. And in 2018, we eloped. And shortly after that, I was like, whatever, I'll get off birth control and we can see. Well, a couple months go by, nothing. I tried a couple of rounds of medication. I took letrozole and Avidril. It's an injection that forces you to ovulate. Mm-hmm. And Danny didn't know about like the first 5 months of that. He just thought that he was getting laid. And he was just happy to be there. And so it was June. I went to a family wedding, and I was, you're hoping to be pregnant for those big events, those family events. And it was a letdown that I wasn't. My coworker, she was pregnant the month we both tried. And it was just you feel so sad and disappointed each month. And it gave me insight into what my patients go through. So we moved into our new home, and we tried again in July. I just so happened to be talking to my sister about this stuff at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we started our periods around the same time. She just got married. And we tried with medication, again, a higher dose this time. And I was testing at work because I'm surrounded by pregnancy tests. Yeah. Why would I pay for one?
Love that.
So I was at work on a weekend, and I took a test, and it was like a very faint line. And I'm all by myself. and I'm holding the test and I'm like shaking. And my manager, I'm close with all my coworkers, and she sees me with that test and she just screams, like screams down the hall. And the director of nursing at the time, she was like, "Who's screaming on a weekend? Absolutely not." Like, she's joking. She's like, "Who the hell is screaming?" And Melissa was like, "Jenny's pregnant." And I was like, "I think," and I'm shaking and holding the little test to her. And I was like, I think it's positive. She goes, "Yeah, it's positive, unless you're just a weird old man with a disease. No, it's positive." And so we do our test. That was 11 days after ovulation. That was 11 days.
Oh, wow.
And it was positive, which is the first sign I should have noticed. The blood work was like pretty high. It was, I think, over 100. And I have where I work, we have ultrasounds. And so I could do ultrasounds at like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So I did a really early ultrasound, and we saw 2 sacs. And so immediately we saw 2 sacs, and I was so anxious because I'm in a realm that there could be multiple per sac.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, as long as there's just 2 heartbeats per sac, as long as there's just 2 heartbeats per sac. That time was pretty scary. Early on, I didn't have very many symptoms early, but I hit about 7 or 8 weeks and nausea hit pretty bad. I don't know about you guys, but like, if I'm going to vomit, I fight it. My body like fights it really hard.
Yeah.
I try to avoid it at all costs. But I didn't have a choice. Tons and tons of food aversions. I think I lost weight at that point. My only appetite, I just wanted a turkey sub from Jersey Mike's. And I was just like, I don't care. I'm not eating anything. Like, I can't eat anything. So the risk be damned. I'm eating that turkey sub. And so that was a little tough. When it came to like 14 weeks, though, it stopped. All of it stopped.
Yeah.
So it got better, and it was like almost like I hit a wall. I could drink coffee again. I could go about normally. Now, other symptoms started pretty early with me. I don't know if you guys know what PUPPs is. I had no idea what this was. It is PUPPs. It's a bunch of P's.
Yeah.
But it's related to your placenta, and it causes excessive itching all over your body.
I have heard of that. But yeah.
It was
I've never heard
awful.
of it.
It's from your placenta, and it's from a lot of first pregnancies get it, and first pregnancies of boys. And it can happen with first pregnancies because you get so big so fast. And with twins, I got big so fast.
Yeah.
I was itching so much. They had to I had to take Benadryl or Zyrtec every day.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. I also got lightning crotch really early.
Oh, ditto.
I got lightning crotch probably 23 weeks, 24 weeks.
Oh, wow. That is early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I got it early, but I didn't.
I know. I listened to your episode and I was like, ooh, that feeling. Oh, God. That feeling is something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the beginning we were so overjoyed with it. I was really, really excited. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I knew the measurements of my follicles. Like, I was like, ooh, are these identical? Was it that small follicle that was just hanging over there? So I was very aware of everything when I was pregnant.
How did you tell Danny? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. How did you tell Danny? Because I don't think you said that part. Like, how did you tell Danny that you were pregnant at work? And then how did you tell him it was twins?
Yeah, so after I went home, I, got off of work, And I was like, I got to find one of those fancy tests,
Mm-hmm.
one of those store-bought tests that just say pregnant.
Yeah.
You won't get the whole line. And I go to his work. He works in real estate, and he works for a home builder. So he's there at the model home, and he has a partner. And I get there, and it's just his partner there. And she was like, oh, he's walking a house with some customers. And I was like, all right. And I really wanted to videotape it. So I was like, I guess I'm going to tell one more person before my husband. So I was like, can you do me a favor? And when Danny's coming up, I need you to take a video because I'm going to tell him I'm pregnant. And she was so excited. And I have him on like the front porch, and I'm like, hey, babe, we're going to have to start preparing because we have someone coming to visit us in April. And he was like, who? And I was like, I'm not sure who they'll be, and I start to pull out, and he goes, oh my God. And he's just like breathing. And he's like, it's because he was like, we did it. He said something like, we did it last night. Was it that? You're an idiot.
Oh.
You're an idiot. Yes. And then the best one was when I got that ultrasound. That day, it was like, I was really, really early, y'all. I was like 5 weeks. And I had just called my sister that day. Like, I got home from work, called my sister. She had a loss. And I didn't want to be like, hey, I know you're trying. You pregnant yet?
Mm-hmm.
That's never a good thing.
Yeah.
If someone's struggling to get pregnant, don't do it.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and when you're doing small talk with someone and you're skirting around the thing that you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about stupid crap. I don't even remember. And she goes, and she cuts the shit and goes, are you pregnant? And I was like, Kim, I am. And she goes, you know what? I took a test today. I think I am too. And I go, you think? No joke, her and I were 5 days apart.
Oh,
we had gotten pregnant 5 days apart.
That is so
and
special.
It was that day. Yeah, it was that day where I had that ultrasound. And I go, Kimberly, I really don't mean to steal your thunder. I do think it might be, I think it's twins. And she was like, what? I'm like, I am one-upping you. I'm so sorry. But it was so exciting. And I had planned that day for my friend Anna to come over. And I was going to have a glass of wine, talk to her. We hadn't seen each other in a while. She's a nurse at a children's hospital. She's in the shit. She's amazing. Mm-hmm. She knew that we had been trying for a couple months, and she was like, how's it going? And I was like, we stopped trying. It was a fight. We had a fight. I'm just lying, just straight up lying to her. And, until Danny got home from work that I had him start recording. And I recorded me telling her, and which, by the way, during this time, we're idiots, and we decided to get a puppy. So her initial reaction was, oh my God, are you still getting a puppy? I was like, yeah, we're still getting a puppy because we're dumb. We're so dumb. We were paying for the puppy and all of that. And we'd already put a deposit down. And then I find out it's twins. And it's like, I already put money down. This is going to happen. So I say, Danny, keep recording. And he goes, that's not part of the plan. He's recording, and I pull out that ultrasound, and I go, and I start crying because I was holding it in too long. I was like, it could be twins. And he ruins the video because he goes, fuck. He just starts cursing. And I'm like, and then after the video's gone, he goes, it's because we did it twice that one day, isn't it? No, it's not that. We don't have twins because we did it twice.
That's so funny.
The man is in real estate. not the medical one. But yeah, and it was so fun having that initial "we're pregnant," and then doing the "and it's twins." Like it's so satisfying.
Yeah,
it's really, really satisfying.
I love that
because everyone's so excited, and then they're just like, and then their look in their eyes is so scared. They get so scared for you, and it's like, yeah, I'm scared too. What the hell? Like, so it was really pretty exciting at the beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like always.
Yeah. So after like the 24-ish weeks of like lightning crotch, how did it go from there?
Now the anatomy scan obviously is super long when it comes to twins. You're measuring everything and anything. They're able to get baby B just fine. We could see all of baby B. She seems to have all the room to flip around, and it was baby A that we really couldn't visualize. She was just facing my spine, so we couldn't see her face. And that would spurred on more appointments, and later on, more ultrasounds. But we held off on genetic testing. We didn't do the gender testing or anything. And I just wanted to wait, because with twins, it's not a definitive. You could say, it just tells you if the Y chromosome is present or not. In my case, it would have told me the answer, but I was like, I think it's a boy and a girl. I think it's a boy and a girl. I don't think it's going to give me the full answer. I'm not sick enough to be both girls, And plus, by the way, no girl names. We had no girl names set out.
We were the opposite.
Like none that we liked. And I had my ultrasonographer, who happens to also be a twin mom in the fertility game.
Love it.
There's a lot of us. There are just like 6 twin parents in our office.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I was like, okay, I think it's she was like, I think it's time. Let's do your gender. Let's find the gender today. So it's really cool having the ability to just pop a wand in your vagina and have your coworkers tell you stuff. So her name is Kimmy. She's fantastic. I love her. And Jen, another ultrasonographer, who's also a twin parent. And I had them in there, and they were going to write it down. And I was going to go home, and Danny and I were going to see it and open it up together. And they write it down really secretively. And right at the end, Jen is like, hey, what do you think it is? And I go, oh, I think it's going to be a boy and a girl. And Jen goes, hey, Kimmy, did you hear what she thinks they are? All right, so I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And I proceed to have the longest ride home. So much traffic. Atlanta's known for traffic, but it took me an hour and a half to get home.
Oh my God.
And the envelope is in my front seat. I'm just staring at it.
Oh.
So Danny and I opened it up together that night. And the video is bad. I've never posted it. I've never shared it because I look so disappointed. But really, it's just the anxiety flooding me that I have no names. Like, I have some names, but we don't like them. And we've talked about baby names. I'm a psycho since like 16. I had a list on my phone. So it's real. You know what you're having. You now have to name this person. And it was really exciting. But, ultrasound stopped being fun when you get to the anatomy scan and further. Because I was also, appointments are really expensive because you're like with a singleton pregnancy, they don't do ultrasounds commonly, like all the time. Every single time I was in the office, I did an ultrasound. And along with the PUPPs, the ultrasound gel made my whole body break out. It was awful. But there was one, so we got to the point where the the OB was like, we really need to see baby A's face. We need to make sure she's okay, that she has a chin, that she has, you know, the normal profile. We want you to go over to the perinatologist down the road. They have more intense ultrasounds, I guess. So I'm in the business. I know everyone. My OB is upstairs. Like, it's really easy to do these appointments. So that day, it's January, I decide to clock in and go down the street. Like, I stay clocked in, y'all. I go to work early and I clock in. And I'm like, hey, I'll be back. I'll be back. I put a clementine on my desk and I was like, I'll see you later. And I go and I park over there. At the appointment, they start to scan me. And the ultrasonographer, her and I are, you know, shooting the shit. And then she gets really, really quiet. And I was like, oh, you know, is everything looking okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to have the doctor come in and talk to you. Just, are you feeling okay? I was like, yeah, I feel fine. I feel great. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. She brings the doctor in and the doctor goes, well, while we were doing that ultrasound, you had contractions. Did you feel those? And I was like, no, I didn't. And she goes, also, your cervix is very small. It's thin. So and then she casually says the word admission. And being a nurse, I'm like on high alert. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am, go back, rewind. She goes, and I say, what are you saying to me? And she just says, we're going to need to admit you to the hospital to make sure you don't go into labor. And I freak out. Like, I am like hyperventilating, like losing a little bit.
How many weeks were you?
I was 27.
Oh, yeah. So early.
Yeah. I was 27 weeks. And I was also, you know, I was scared. I didn't sign up for short-term disability when I got my job. And that was apparently at the time, that was our maternity leave. So I learned about that and I was like, I don't have maternity leave. And so I've been anxious, all of the symptoms so far, all of the financial things with all the ultrasound. I was so stressed, so anxious. My blood pressure was fine. It was nothing like that, but everything was building, financially building. You look up the cost of twins and you're just like, you want to freak out. Well, I'm at that point, I'm at 27 weeks and I'm being admitted. The first people I called Danny, obviously, but I texted my manager and the clinical manager and I was like, Karen and Krista, and I immediately was like, they're admitting me. It's too early. Like, if I read that text now, I start to cry. Like, it makes me so upset. It makes me so sad. But I go, it's too early. And Krista and Karen just like jumped in and they were like, it's okay. We got this. We'll put your out of office on. They like jumped into action. I later found out Krista was crying. Like, she was hysterical. And she is, you know, I'm so close with all my coworkers, but she was so strong in that moment. And I'm so thankful for them. But I texted them and I told my mom. She didn't understand what was going on, but I didn't either. They knew that I was a nurse. All around, if you're in the Atlanta area, it's called Pill Hill. It's all of the hospitals. And North Side is the baby factory. It's where everyone delivers. It's known. They have like 3 floors of delivery, like 3 L&D floors. Wow. The Women's Center is massive. This office has a tunnel that goes into Northside Hospital.
Wow.
The doctor tells me, well, I know you're a nurse. I can't let you leave. Which in clinical terms is, you are a flight risk. I think you're going to leave and run away. So they put me in a wheelchair and wheel my big ass all the way to the hospital. And I'm sitting in front of the check-in desk. And Natalie, I don't know if you remember this, but if I cry, I get splotchy. Everyone is aware that I'm crying. Everyone. And I am bright red. I am sobbing. I'm scared. I'm by myself being admitted into the hospital. Indefinitely, by the way. They did not tell me anything. So I get into the room. I'm on a high-risk perinatal unit. And I worked in the hospital in St. Louis. I worked in the hospital in Atlanta. I never thought that I was going to be someone in the hospital bed, especially at 26 years old. So it was very weird. I did my glucose test that day. And by the way, because I left my Clementine at my desk, I was starving. I loved that glucose test. I loved it. I was like, yes, bring it. Can I have another one? It's like warm Fanta. It was just, I mean, thinking back to it, I'm like, I still don't have bad memories of that glucose test because I was so hungry. And every woman I tell that to, all my coworkers who've been pregnant since, they're like, "You're crazy. I threw up. Like, what is wrong with you?" It's
not good.
No, it's not. It's not. But so I was admitted by the perinatologist, but my OB was seeing me. I didn't see the OB until like 11 o'clock that night. He comes in and he's like disheveled. Like he's had a hard day. He goes, "I'm sorry, had like 5 C-sections today." Like, that sucks. Yeah. And they're all talking to me because my doctor, Dr. Andrew Toledo, is buddies with everyone. Like, he is so well connected. The dude has connections out the ass in the OB field. And so they all know I'm his nurse. This is Jenny, Andy's nurse. And so Dr. Basile comes in and he's like, pulls up a chair and he just cuts the shit with me. I'm watching Forensic Files because it helps me sleep. And he's like, "Oh, this show is great. This is great. I've seen this episode." Like, I was like, "Bro, no. We're not talking about Forensic Files. Why am I here? What am I doing? When is the timeline here?" And they put me on twice a day or 3 times a day monitoring. So I had to monitor the baby's heartbeats along with a TOCO. So I had to do contraction monitor. I had a really bad first couple days where they had to slow down contractions and prevent them. So I didn't have any blood pressure issues. It was just my cervix could not handle those contractions that occasionally occurred. Now, like, I think one time they gave me meds and I had to do IVs because if you're dehydrated, you're at risk for those contractions to come back. So, but it was a fine line because if your bladder's too full, the bladder can push on your uterus and then start contraction. So I was just constantly getting up to go to the bathroom. That was my only activity, was getting up to go to the bathroom. It was monitored bed rest, hospital monitored bed rest. So I couldn't leave the room, couldn't go for a walk, nothing. I would sneak out because there was a McDonald's in that hospital, and you bet your ass this fatty over here was like, yeah, the twins need a milkshake. I passed my glucose test. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's not me, it's the twins.
Yeah. That was January, right when people want to start planning baby showers. I actually had people planning 2 baby showers in St. Louis and a baby shower at work. And we had to make one baby shower got canceled and one was virtual in St. Louis, which sucked so bad. So bad. My coworkers tried to plan a baby shower 3 times at work, and all 3 of them got canceled. So, never had that. You panic, and I was like, Danny, you have to put together the cribs now. You know, I'm like months away, like nowhere near the time to need a crib or even a high chair. I made him put together a high chair. And we didn't use that until we were like 9 months old. But I was panicking and making him do stuff. So it was really hard on him because I can't imagine doing this if you had kids, because I was in the hospital. We're 45 minutes north. So I'm in the hospital right by my work. Some people can come by and see me, but Danny's coming 45 minutes south. After he comes home from work, he takes the dogs out, and we also have 3 dogs at this point, by the way.
Oh my
mistake. Life mistake. And he takes the dogs out, and then he'll come see me. So those first couple weeks, he was doing it like every day. He's paying so much in gas. He's exhausted. He's irritated. It was taking a really big toll on us. So when I'm like 2 weeks into this hospital stay, and every day I'm like, what? Can I please go home? Can I please go home? And it's, hey, you've made it another milestone, another day. Every single day is a win. Well, they tell me everything's looking better. Your cervix is getting thicker. I get ultrasounds, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays. The worst part by far was the monitoring. You know, those bands they put on you when you were delivering? We have 3. I have 3 on them. And the girls, when the babies don't like them. If they're small, they can like hit the monitor and they can spin away from it. So when the girls are really small, they hated the wavelengths that were going through, and they would just avoid it. So I would spend hours of my day being stuck into the bed and trying to find their heartbeats. So it was a lot of like, no, you have to do this to get the baby A, you have to do this to get baby B. It was so complicated. I was lucky enough at the time to have amazing coworkers who let me work from the hospital room. I was able to get a laptop, and I wouldn't call patients, but I would do insurance stuff. I would do paperwork, clinical, like administrative stuff. So I was able to not get onto short term yet. Like I wasn't using my maternity leave yet.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
Yeah. And keeping me sane. It was really keeping me sane to have some kind of work. I wasn't just watching guys' grocery games all day long. And so I was limited to only 3 hours a day, but it got me through.
Yeah.
Eventually, after like 2.5 weeks, they let me go home. They discharged me. Felt like I was breaking free. And I immediately come home, and the place is a mess. And because I'm who I am, I couldn't do it. I can like not clean the whole house. So I cleaned the house. We also had to get our puppy spayed because I didn't want a puppy period around the house when I can't clean. So we also had that scheduled. Well, we got our dog spayed, and I had to like take care of her afterwards. So I'm like lifting a large golden retriever puppy.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a terrible idea. Really bad idea. I go to one OB appointment and I'm fine. And then I go back to the perinatologist and I'm not fine. Like just a few days apart, and my cervix is thin again. So that one, I was not near the hospital, so they couldn't wheel me. They had to let me go home. So that visit, they were like, we want you, you're being admitted again. You know, bad girl. But you need to go to the hospital in an hour. You need to go to the hospital in an hour. And I was like so thankful I could pack my own bag. Lord have mercy, having your husband pack a bag for you is not, don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. That dickhead thought it was funny to pack my vibrator.
Oh my God.
He's an asshole. And he thought it was so funny. He thought it was the funniest thing. I was like, you're taking that home. I'm so embarrassed. We all know I'm a nurse. Oh my God.
Oh my God, I love that.
And so the second time around, I could pack my own bag. Like, I was so thankful. And then
So no vibrator.
Like, can I go get sweet tomatoes before? You know that buffet? Sweet tomatoes? They have like the best blueberry muffins. And I was like, can I please go to Sweet Tomatoes before? And they're like, Jenny, no. You need to go to the hospital. I was like, ah. So, I mean, that appointment and that admission was not fun, but it was way less dramatic as the first one when I had no idea what to expect. I thought I was, it was doom and gloom. That second admission, that was the final one. I knew I was in for the long haul. They wouldn't let me go home because I lived too far away from the hospital where my OB delivers. And also the biggest thing was the NICU. We needed a really well-equipped NICU. So, I'm back on the same floor, by the way. Same floor, same nurses. And I come back and they're like, what are you doing? What did you do? Why are you here again? And I was like, me being me, can't help it. So that was sucky. And then this time around, I was like, Danny, don't come visit every single day. It's too much on you. It's too much. I'm stuck in here regardless whether you come to visit or not. So this one was a little bit better. I had friends come to see me. I still had work. I actually, when my baby shower in St. Louis got canceled, she decided to change her flight and she came to see me. So she's pregnant, same time I am, just as big, not that big though. She's petite and not having twins. So, and it was really cool because she would sit in the hospital bed with me and all of our babies are kicking together.
Aww.
It was so cute. It was so cute. So she's having a boy, I'm having two girls, and we'd sit side by side in our bellies. You can see them just rolling.
That is so cool.
It was really neat. And I didn't get comfortable, but I got, pretty, resolute in my position there. But it's not without a lot of, depersonalization. You just kind of become a walking incubator at that point, just day by day. You're counting the days. At that point, I had people visit. I had everyone telling their friend, my aunt, my uncle's sister came to see me. Everyone came to visit because I couldn't leave. Well, and I continued to work too. So I was just keeping busy at that point.
So this was end of February 2020?
End of February. Yeah. And in the hospital, I'm watching the news and I'm like, what's this COVID thing?
Yeah.
I'm talking to other nurses. I'm like, what do you think this is going to be? Do you think it's going to come here? And I vividly remember everyone being like, no, it's going to die down. It will be okay. My biggest concern at that point was not having leap year babies. Was like, I'm not going to have twins on a leap day. Hell no. Are they going to have birthdays every 4 years? What a complicated mess that is. So when I made it past the leap day, I was, all right, cool. We're Gucci. We are good. I was due April 21st and we make it into March. I was very happy. I was very excited. I was now altogether about like 5 weeks of admission. Wow. So yeah, there's a lot of guilt around my delivery, but on March 3rd, that night, I missed my husband. I was, bored. I just happened to have an orgasm, and I was hormonal and pregnant. When you're bored, whatever, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do. The next day, I think nothing of it, and the next day, I'm like feeling more discomfort than usual, and I'm watching guys' grocery games per usual, my normal routine, eating Starburst because I was all about that texture at that time. My doctor, the same doctor that was the guy who admitted me, he's super cool. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing? How are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I've watched all of the Forensic Files seasons by now. What's up?" I'm seeing reruns. And he was like, "Cut this shit. How are you feeling?" And I go, "Well, it feels like both babies are trying to leave my belly button. They leave outside, they just, a contraction with twins is weird. It's not like focused. It just felt like they're both going outward instead of down like they should be." So I was just explaining, I just don't feel comfortable, like normal. And he was like, "Oh, okay." I'm minimizing it all over the place. I'm minimizing it. And he goes, "Well, let's just put you on the monitor and see. Let's just put you on." And I can't remember her name, but my nurse that day was fantastic. And she put me on the monitor. It got easier to do the monitor as the babies got bigger, because even if they don't like the monitor, they don't have the room to get out.
There's nowhere to go.
They don't have the room to leave. And by the way, baby B is flipping every other day. So she's just like using her sister's head as a cat, like as a way to just jump off of it and just flip. Whereas baby A, she's just facing my spine and not doing it. Like she can't move very much.
Yeah.
She's so low that they could only see her butt cheeks with a vaginal ultrasound. That's how low she was. She was sitting on top of my cervix.
Wow.
In my pelvis. And I remember telling Dr. Basile, I was like, "I feel like I'm being ripped from my pelvis." And he's like, "Oh yeah, classic lightning crotch." Like, "This isn't lightning crotch. I'm being split in half." He comes that day after monitoring me, and she goes, "Jenny, it's been 20 minutes and you've had 6 contractions." I was like, "Oops." Ooh. So Dr. Basile comes. She's like, "I'm going to get the doctor back in here. We're going to have to check your cervix." That man had the largest hands. I mean, I nearly crawled up the bed. His hands, God bless them, so big, terrifying of him. God. So he checks my cervix. He makes this like hilarious joke. He's like, "Well, your tonsils look great." Like, cool. He goes, "Also, we're having babies today because your bag is bulging."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Oh, bulging, what? What's a bulging bag?" And he was like, "Well, your amniotic sac is coming out. So we're going to go. It's C-section day. We're doing it." And I'm like, shit. My husband's 45 minutes north. I'm starting to like hyperventilate. My nurse is so great. She goes, "Calm down. You're okay. You got this. Don't cry. Don't cry." And he goes, by the way, he goes, "When's the last time you ate?" I was like, "Does Starburst count?" So he's, I text Danny, I call Danny and I'm like, "Hey, so we're having babies today." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "We're having babies today. Go ahead and go home. I don't think we're in like a rush. Go ahead and go home, take the dogs out. It could be a while. And then head down." I call my friend Anna. She is the children's nurse, and she lives close by, and she had like a go bag, y'all. She was there. She was there in like 10 minutes. And she's helping me. Like, she helped me so much. I happened to be like getting wheeled down, and I realized, oh, I've been overhydrating, because that's what my job was the last couple weeks. Hydrate.
Yeah.
I had to pee really bad. And they're like, no, well, it's okay. We'll put in a Foley. We'll put in a catheter. It's okay. I was like, I might pee on you before then. So she, Anna's there. She holds my hand while they put the epidural in. And then, fun fact about being hospitalized for 5 weeks, guys, you can't do any grooming down there. So I was a mess. They had this is 6:30 or so at night,
Mm-hmm.
and they have shift change. So everyone's giving report to each other.
Yeah.
And they have a new nurse who's shaving my pubes. and the older nurse was like, that's enough. I think that's fine. I was like, cool.
So Danny packs your vibrator, but won't pack your anything to groom you.
With twins, you can't see anything.
Yeah, you'd have to have someone else do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was a great moment. And then they put in the catheter, and they're like, oh, Jenny, you really did have to go. You filled the catheter bag. And I was like, I told you I had 1,000 cc's in there. And Anna's there, and there's March 4th. So just starting to start restricting things. Well, in the OR, they don't have enough room for other people. So they're like, who are you? And she's like, oh, I'm just a friend. And they're like, okay, you need to leave. You need to get her stuff. My hospital room is like an apartment. So she had to unpack my whole room and bring it to post-delivery. So she did that. Dr. Basile is like, oh, hey, where's your husband? Where's he at? I go, oh, I told him to go take the dogs out. He should be here in like 10 minutes or so. We have time, right? I mean, I think we're going to go in like OR at like 8:30. And he goes, and this is when he was very serious. He goes, Jenny, the moment your husband is dressed out, we're wheeling you to the OR immediately. And I go, and that's when shit got real. I was like, oh, neat. We wheeled out, I think, at 7. That is shift change in the hospital. So there was already more personnel because of twins, but they were double that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there face up on the table, and it is so loud in that room. I could hear everyone talking. It was, and Dr. Basile sitting there patiently. Obviously, doctors don't need to give report. And he goes, you doing okay? And I remember like choking out, it's too loud. And he was like, everybody, stop talking. Get out of here. And I was so thankful for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
C-section shakes, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I was shaking the whole time. I was crying. Danny was, so pumped. He was just naive to it all. He didn't look over the curtain or anything. He's not that dude. But we had this wonderful anesthesia, the nurse anesthetist. She took my phone and she took pictures of the whole thing.
Oh, that's so nice.
But I didn't feel a thing. That wasn't, painful or anything. It's the feeling of a tug,
mm-hmm.
and then you hear a baby cry, mm-hmm. and that was my Natalie. Natalie is baby A, and she immediately came out screaming, telling the world that she was pissed and she was ready to go. And then baby B came 2 minutes later. That's Nora. And each time before he took out Natalie, his timing was perfect. He goes, well, Dad, give Mom a kiss because this is the last time you're going to be alone. And takes her out and shows her. And then with Nora, he put Nora towards the barrier. And I have this awesome picture of her reaching out, with her little hand and touching that clear barrier.
Aw.
And I was just hysterically crying and so happy. There's all the nurses there for the NICU.
Mhm.
So while they're cleaning me up, Danny's taking pictures and seeing them and talking to them. And he goes with the babies while I'm getting cleaned up.
Mhm.
They knew I'm a nurse. Obviously, they all know me. So they, at the end, they show me my placentas.
Love it.
They're like, you want to see them? I was
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So they show me both of my placentas. And it was, a really nice, a good time, overall. The delivery at that point, I was just so happy to have made it to 33 weeks.
Mhm.
Their outcomes were so much more improved than previously.
Mhm.
But they went right to the NICU, and I stayed in postpartum.
Mhm.
So I didn't get to hold them that night. I didn't get to see them until the next day, until I was okay to get off of the pain drip and go upstairs to see them. So Anna stayed with me that night. He was fantastic. Danny had to go back home and take care of the dogs, but we got to see the girls in the morning in the NICU. It's scary, the NICU.
Mhm.
But so Nora was 4 pounds 8 ounces, and Natalie was 4 pounds 1 ounce. 1 ounce.
Mm.
Yeah. She was just a little bit smaller, but Natalie was immediately further ahead than Nora.
Mhm.
She progressed faster. The thing about the hospital we were at, they have 2 NICUs. They have 2 separate NICUs in so many different rooms inside the NICUs. They kept my girls in separate rooms most days. So I was always hopping around.
Mm.
This was first week of March. Things haven't shut down yet. I get discharged after 5 days, and I can't drive. After a C-section, you can't drive because if you get into an accident, you could burst your uterus and just be screwed, So thankfully, I have my coworkers who live kind of by me, and they work down the road. So they drove me to work, and I'm pumping, doing, I was so adamant. I was like, I gotta do all the pumping I can, for the girls. And so I wanted to save money. I packed a cooler of ham sandwiches, Gatorade, waters, and I was dropped off for the whole day. So I would go to each one of their feeds and eat, drink, and pump all the time. In the NICU, they have a pump that would go right to the bedside, so you could pump and hold your baby. You could try to feed. The girls were too small to properly breastfeed. So it was just a lot of pumping for me. And there was one day, I remember my friend Hillary was driving me, and I felt so tired. I was so tired. And I was like, this is it. This is COVID. This is what I've heard about. This is the COVID. And when we got home later on, I was falling asleep at both the girls' bedsides, and Hillary was like, just take a break, sleep. You're just exhausted. And I'm starting to feel bubble guts, not sweats, bubble guts. I'm feeling ill. And Danny comes home and he goes, did you make sandwiches to go to work? Go to the hospital? And I was like, yeah, I did. He goes, with this mayo? And I was like, He's like, babe, this is expired, a year expired.
Oh, God.
And I was like, I gave myself food poisoning, y'all. I am I am a week postpartum, and this is also a national toilet paper shortage. Remember that when people were hoarding toilet paper and you couldn't find toilet paper anywhere?
Yeah.
I was crapping my brains out, bleeding, bleeding, and I had no toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes. That was a freaking nightmare. Also, Danny's not doing his paternity leave yet because he's trying to save it for when the girls come home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on my own. Thank God for my friend Van, whose husband's a cop. Like, he's driving around late at night when they're stocking shelves because he got me a pack of Charmin. I was so close, y'all. I was really close to being on paper towels and trash bags. So bad. It was awful. I'm very compulsive now. All the people who I know who are pregnant or about to deliver, I give them the normal things, but I give them a pack of toilet paper now. Like, I'm not messing around. Just in case. People are crazy. They did not learn their lesson about hoarding. They did not.
No.
So, God. Well, we, that was the routine for a while. That was the routine. After a couple weeks, it was driving to the hospital to see the girls, coming back home, driving to the hospital to see the girls. That was my whole thing. And that's when COVID started to pick up and starting to get a little bit more scary. On March 23rd, Natalie is doing awesome. She's no breathing tube. She's feeding on her own. She's feeding off of a bottle. We do the car seat test because you have to do the car seat test for the NICU for them to go home. We do the car seat test, and I'm talking to the nurses. I'm like, okay, so when I take Natalie home, when we come back tomorrow to see Nora, can I have a crib in her area to put Natalie so that I can hold Nora? And, it's just like me and Natalie visiting for Sissy. We're going to come together. And, the nurse was like, yeah, I'll have that coordinated for you. So it was later that night when Danny was able to come help me pick up Natalie and get going. So we come together, and the nurse manager comes up and was like, hey, we do need to tell you about a change that's being made, and we unfortunately are going to have to shut down the NICU to any visitors. And I immediately was like, okay, but like, I can, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, that means all visitors. So you won't be able to come back.
You're not like a visitor.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I'm like, so when I take Natalie home, I'm not going to be able to see Nora. And I proceed to have a full-blown panic attack. I have never cried so hard, so loud in public before. I mean, semi-public, and no one's really around.
Yeah.
Danny kept his head cool. He was definitely the partner who was, keeping a level head. I am holding Nora, sobbing, because your child's in an ICU.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able. They're like, we can FaceTime. We'll FaceTime twice a day. I am beside myself. I am just partial. One of the big reasons I'm going through therapy is that moment.
Yeah.
And those leaving my daughter.
Yeah.
It was hard leaving both of them, but I knew I was coming back to see both of them.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back home with one and leaving the other, I think I'll probably carry that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So they still make you wheel out your baby. I'm holding Natalie, and I'm sitting in that wheelchair, just puffy and just dazed. I was almost just dissociating at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before masks, right before we started wearing masks. And I see this woman come up and she's crying because obviously she's been told the same thing. Her husband's been crying. Mm-hmm. And I see them and I'm like, they look really familiar. I look at her and she goes, "You're Dr. Toledo's nurse, aren't you?" And I go, and it clicked. And I was like, I am. And you were my patient, weren't you? She was right. Her baby was right next to our girls. Aww. And she was just told the exact same thing. And I was her main nurse to help her get pregnant. Aww. And in that moment, she was just like, "This sucks." And I was like, it really does suck. Like it was one of those weird small world moments.
Yeah.
And she has since come back to me and I helped her get pregnant with baby number 2.
Aww.
But I mean, it was awful. It was awful.
Yeah.
I was also by myself because Danny had to keep his paternity leave until both girls came home.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 weeks, it was just Natalie at home with me, and Danny was continuing to work. I was just up with the baby, just doing it all. With a NICU baby, you have to wake them up every 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 3 hours on the dot, waking up to feed. I would pump, hold her head up because she's also, refluxy, like normal NICU babies, I guess. And it was exhausting, really bad. And then Nora started to improve, and she came home after 40 days in the NICU.
Wow. So like past her due date. Was it past her due date?
It was, she came home April 15th. So she was like a week away from her due date.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So like they had to like do that all on their own. Like you didn't see her for 40 days?
No, they would just FaceTime twice a day. So I'm just sitting there going through that constant 3-hour cycle and then just waiting for a FaceTime call every day. Oh. So, and then they came home. So I'm used to one baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, you have 2.
Wow.
That was a trip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how was postpartum after having 2 and Danny got to do his paternity leave?
So he started his paternity leave and it was all teamwork or nothing. We split it up in, I'll do diapers, you do bottles. Natalie came home on a Dr. Brown's bottle with NeoSure and breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
Nora came home on a MAM bottle with Alimentum. And so there was a total routine with the bottles. We had to do them separately and correctly. It stresses me out thinking about it now.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I did the diapers, and then we would meet together. We would feed, hold them, burp them for 20 minutes, and then put them down. I would pump. So it got really, really old after a while, the pumping.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't producing a whole lot. I was beating myself up. There's so much guilt when you have a NICU baby. I mean, especially in my situation where I felt completely at fault for it. I just kept that to myself. I was very secretive of it. I think I caused my delivery by, being stupid and hormonal the night before. And I caused this. I totally caused this. I'm the reason why I'm not seeing my daughter. And then you're pumping and you're like, I'm not making enough. It's my fault. I'm not, feeding enough for my girls. So it kept postpartum depression there the whole time. You're just kind of circling there.
Mm-hmm.
So he had 2 weeks off. He had 2 weeks paid, and he goes back to work. The last couple of days, I'm like, how do I feed both babies at once?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do one and the other and then pump because I will literally never sleep. I'll never sleep.
Yeah.
Or eat or shower or.
I have a couple of pictures of me, both babies are propped up and I have bottles on either side.
Yeah.
And I'm just it's pretty insane. So he goes back to work, and I have 1 or 2 days. All of a sudden, I'm on the second day of all by myself with both babies, and he walks in while I'm pumping, and he has tears down his eyes, and he goes, "I was just laid off."
Oh my God.
My God.
So add more trauma to
Oh
this,
my God.
Oh my
where
God.
I am pumping, trying to feed, trying to think about how we're going to feed 2 babies. One is on an expensive formula, and my husband comes home and tells me he doesn't have a job.
Oh my God.
So we freak out. Thank God for the unemployment that was increased during the COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
That helped so much. He had severance. He took that hard. He took that so hard.
Oh.
And we got fully COVID shut down here. It was just craziness with the babies. It was just us and the babies. We were just locked down with 2 infants. Looking back, I'm still so bitter about them laying him off right after his paternity leave, but they gave him the paternity leave, paid paternity leave. The severance also was really good, and he got unemployment on that. I had unemployment, and then I started working early. He got more time with the girls. He, had a really long time with them early on, and then they gave him his job back after like 2 months or so.
That's so good.
He reapplied, and they hired him back when things started to clear up, but get a little bit better and open up a little bit more. So we ended up being okay through that, but it was really traumatic. It would have broken a lot of people, but Danny and I, we didn't let it stop us. We kind of bonded together there. And if anyone's pregnant with multiple, even now as a nurse who is in the fertility field, and I have patients who get pregnant with twins, I tell them, you have to work as a team, or it's going to break you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's teamwork, or it's gonna wreck your marriage. And it's just that simple.
Wow.
Yeah. So
when did it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when did it feel like it kind of got a little bit easier? Was there like some sort of milestone or something? Or
it got
still
easier when they went to daycare. When they finally went to daycare, and I could go to work. That's when it got a little bit better. I got back on my anti-anxiety. I stopped pumping. I am a huge, all for breastfeeding, all for pumping. But the mental toll that took, I already had been so depersonalized in the hospital, and then hooking yourself up like a cow to something that's going to milk you, takes away who you are a lot. And I had to stop. I just had to stop. I felt a lot better when I stopped pumping. And I also was able to start working on my mental health more. It took me a really long time to talk about my guilt towards the girl's delivery. It took weeks into therapy for me to talk about that, and to, very shamefully, just say it one day. And my therapist said something I'll never forget. She was like, when you bring something into the light, something shameful into the light, it shrinks. So now I can talk about it and be like, hey, we all masturbate. It happens. We all do it. But it affected my sex life for a year after my delivery, because I was so riddled with guilt and shame, I couldn't enjoy sex with my husband. And he thought it was his fault. And then finally, I have to confess something to you. I'm so sorry for the NICU bills. It's all my fault. I did this. And I think this is why our daughters were born early and all of these issues. And he's like, he's such a man who's just so excited that it's like not his fault. He was like, oh my God, I thought you weren't attracted to me anymore. Oh, that's not it. So, and I've talked to other NICU moms. We all have that guilt. You caused it. Your body didn't do the right thing. You weren't able to deliver at the right time. This is your fault. So I'm still processing all of that. Mm-hmm. It's a trauma that is very, very unique, having children in the NICU. Mm-hmm. But I still want more kids.
You are amazing. That was way more than I ever thought.
I know that outline I wrote, like, oh, this will be fine. It'll be fun. It'll be no big deal, casual. It's not casual.
Wow. So Jenny, what advice would you give for moms of multiples?
It would be, make sure your partner is ready. Make sure you and your partner are strong. Go to therapy, work out the kinks in your relationship first. Mm-hmm. Make sure you're in a good spot. It's going to test you. But it's so satisfying. For the multiples are so fun to see and so very loving, and it's just so much fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress, but it's worth it.
Jenny, thank you so much for telling your story and being so vulnerable and sharing the birth of your beautiful girls.
I'm so happy to be here.
For photos and more information on Jenny, check out our website. You can also find links in the show notes to follow Jenny, Natalie, and Liz on Instagram and Facebook. There are also links to great resources on our website as well.
If you'd like to share your story with us, please head over to our website, fill out the guest intake form, and we'll be in touch with you soon. We love all kinds of stories, so don't be shy.
And again, if you enjoy our podcast, please share with your friends and family and give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify so more listeners can connect with us. See you next episode.